Let's move on and talk about this lawsuit that the ACLU has filed against the Catholic bishops, saying that their policies in hospitals may have impacted a woman's health down the road. Obviously a complicated case here, but are we seeing, where does this end? The Catholic Church fighting the policies in Obamacare, the ACLU now fighting the Catholic Church. What is the end game here?
Well, it's very clear to me that we've seen a drumbeat of assault on religion in this country, and it's going to continue. And it's first and foremost been in the courts. It started, with the teaching of the Bible in schools. I mean, it's remarkable to think that here's a country based on Western civilization. The greatest book, the foundational book for the founding of Western civilization is the Bible. I don't think anybody really questions that. It's the most important book in Western civilization, maybe in the world, and yet you can't teach it. You can't teach it. You can't even talk about it. And the ACLU and others wouldn't want you to talk about it. Whether some do, in fact, is another issue, but it's a contentious one, and it's a foolish issue. It is an attempt by those who don't agree with those biblical principles to banish that type of thought from the public arena and from and even from our schools and from from any aspect outside of the church walls itself. That is contrary to everything America has stood for. America is about freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, and this is something the courts have dealt with ham-handedly, created lots of confusion, and haven't stood clearly for what is best for America.
So you think the courts are to blame for not doing a better job of defining this?
Absolutely, no question about it. And
this court in particular?
I wouldn't say this court in particular, but courts over the years, and this court hasn't been particularly strong on this issue either. Look,
and do you fault John Roberts for that?
I fault a whole variety of justices over the course of many, many years who have misunderstood the importance and relevance of faith as a vital factor in maintaining democracy, in maintaining freedom. A good friend of mine, Os Guinness, talks about the iron triangle of freedom, which he says freedom requires virtue, virtue requires faith, and faith requires freedom. And what's happened is the freedom of religion, that faith, that freedom requiring virtue and virtue requiring faith. Faith is necessary to instill virtue. Virtue is necessary for us to be free. If we are not a virtuous people, if we do not constrain ourselves by living lives that are decent and moral, then what happens? Well, go to any neighborhood in America where people don't live moral and decent lives. And what do you have? You have a police state. You have constraint from the outside as opposed to constraint from the inside.
And what the opposition says and what the ACLU is saying is if I'm a non-Catholic patient or a non-Catholic employee of one of these institutions, they shouldn't be able to impose their religious beliefs on those folks. How do you balance the two? Because what you said, I think a lot of people agree with that, but there's also the other side. How do you balance the two?
They're a Catholic institution. You go to work for a Catholic institution, you go to work for a Catholic institution. When you walk into
What about the patients who might not have a choice which hospital they go to?
When you walk into well, I don't know of too many communities in America where the Catholic institution is the only one in the community. Usually in these, again, if there is such a case, well then there may have to be accommodations made, but that's usually not the case. Almost all of these Catholic institutions are in major cities that have one or more hospitals. And again, what we're talking about here is not care that is essential life-saving care. What we're talking about are things that can and often are done outside of a hospital setting.